This just in, one of the Miami Hurricanes' top commits for the class of 2026 has just reclassified. He's coming in a year early.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer at Canes County on Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Truth Teller Tuesday. We got the Truth Teller with us. So, Bruce, the big news that broke just this morning, Malachi Toney.
Yes.
American Heritage standout receiver who was class of 2026, verbally committed to Miami. So this is a Miami guy, as announced Tuesday morning. Toney is reclassifying to 2025. So he is going to join. Dalen Upshaw is so far the other receiver Miami has committed. And Malachi Toney, who's been playing really well for Heritage so far this season.
Yeah, he has.
He's going to be coming to the U a year early. How are we feeling about this?
I feel good. You know, the kid wants to get here already. So I'm not sure what qualifies him as a 26 or a 25, but I guess he's going to be graduating in 25, so he can come here. There's nothing wrong with that. The more, the merrier.
Nothing wrong with it.
You know, the more, the merrier. I'm happy for this kid. I saw him against Milton. You watched that game. He caught 2 touchdowns.
Great performance. Yeah, almost really 100 good. Yards.
Yep, he's got some speed after the catch. He's good. So that's all good. But that's not why we're here today about Malachi Toney. We're talking about 3-0, have a game against South Florida, who, from what I've seen, they've played Alabama tough twice now, last year and this year. But I still don't see them stopping our offense. And I've said that for months, and I'm saying it in the last 3 weeks. Who's going to stop this offense? Maybe ourselves, but I'm not that concerned. Maybe the defense, I'm a little concerned. Not that I should be, because they're just destroying people, but they've destroyed really nobody, you know. And we're going to get to the Gators and the Seminoles in the second part of our show, because I told you yesterday I want to talk about that. You know, everybody's talking about the Gators and the Noles. Why shouldn't we?
Right, exactly. And okay, so we are going to talk about that, how right now, and obviously you go up against a team from the state of Florida this weekend, so we'll see how it goes with USF. But in terms of the big three, Miami is dominating compared to Florida and Florida State. Yeah. We'll get to that. I want to talk about this, Bruce, the good and the bad from Miami's first 3 dominating wins. Now, and when I was throwing this to you pre-show, you're like, well, is there really any bad? I mean, is there anything, Bruce? There's a couple things, right? It's not been perfect. There are some things. Miami has scored 159 points so far this year. You've got a quarterback who is right now the leader in the clubhouse for the Heisman Trophy 3 weeks into the season, but it's not been perfect. What are some areas you think Miami can sharpen for the rest of the year?
Well, I have 2 questions or comments. One, what's going on with Damian Martinez? What do you have, 3 touches the other day, and he hardly
3 carries,
played.
3 yards.
Yeah, and what's wrong with him? He didn't get hurt. He's not hurt. No one said much about it. I don't know if he's in a doghouse. He doesn't seem to run that hard. He seems to tippy-toe around, and then he tries to make a break when he sees a hole. I don't know if they want him doing that. And I guess the running game overall, I have not seen the holes being blown open like we thought we were going to see. So I know Mario's working on that. I know they're working on the running game. I know for a fact. There's not much in the passing game you have to worry about. The tight ends are involved. The backs are involved. The receivers are all involved. You know, too bad for Isaiah Horton with these penalties, and he gets great plays or touchdowns called back.
So bad for him. Every time he scores a touchdown, it gets called back.
Yep, there's a flag on every one of those plays. But you know what? And the offensive line isn't necessarily set in stone. You know, there's some injuries now. Rivers is coming back. Inez is coming back. Carpenter's playing well. I'm assuming that McCoy is doing okay at left guard. They'll be fine. This game, I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on not getting 8 penalties. They had 8 penalties this
Yeah, 2
game.
weeks in a row.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row. That's got to stop. They're not making a lot of dumb plays defensively. I don't see any late hits, targetings, any of that stuff. So that's good. It's all good. The defense is incredible, and Bain
Oh,
probably won't play again, especially if it's a sloppy field. I don't see him out there this week. I don't know if Brown's coming back this week either, but
I don't
so
think
far
so.
they don't need him. These guys are just tearing people apart. Alston and Barron. Wow, they're all playing really, really well. So, look, there's not much bad for me. Now, if we lose this game, then all hell is going to break loose. But I don't see it. I think we win by 17 to 21 points.
Yeah, so on Bain, the sense that I get is that he could probably play if it was
Right.
absolutely necessary, but I think they're being cautious with him. I think we'll see Bain back for the Virginia Tech game. Not saying he definitely won't play this week. We'll see, but I look at the Virginia Tech game. As far as like what you're talking about, the rushing attack, I think I'm more focused on the run blocking than I am on Damian Martinez. I think Martinez is making a little bit of an adjustment from the way he was supposed to play at Oregon State to the way he should be playing at Miami. I think Martinez is going to be fine. I'm more worried about the holes that are being created or not created, specifically on the left side of the offensive line. But I think Jalen Rivers, who Mario Cristobal confirmed is back this week, I
He's
think
back.
that's going to make a big difference there. And of course, Inez Cooper is going to play at right guard. He left the game in the second quarter last week. And honestly, and I had this conversation, Bruce, with Gio Milian yesterday. I think Martinez, I think we're not going to be so worried about him within the next couple of weeks. And I think in a game like USF, where Miami is going to try to wear them down late
Yeah.
the way that Alabama did. I mean, Alabama had their explosion of points in the fourth quarter. I think being able to have, again, Martinez and Mark Fletcher being bigger backs, 225 pounds plus, to be able to wear down that defense. I think we're going to see, compared to last week, 3 carries for 3 yards. I think Miami's probably saving Martinez for bigger games like this. I think we're going to see a lot more of Martinez this week. But that's been my big question mark, has just been consistency from the running game, Bruce, because
Yeah, I
Miami
agree.
they were able to hide, because in the fourth quarter last week, Miami, they had worn down Ball State. And by the way, AJ Allen, I believe he deserves more playing time. He was running really well and really hard, but most of what Miami did on the ground against Ball State, they put up big stats, but most of that was near the end of the game. Like early in the game,
Yes.
Miami was not running well. They had, I think, 22 rushing yards at halftime last week.
Yeah, I know Cristobal's not happy with that, and I think they're gonna. It'd be interesting to see if we see Martinez dancing around like he has been doing, and then trying to take off when he sees a little opening. If he attacks the line, he just goes. Then you know that they got to him and said, "Listen, you can't keep doing this," because 3
Right.
carries. I don't care. I understand what you said, but he doesn't need only 3 carries. He needs to get into a rhythm, and he was not in the rhythm, and because he didn't play that much. So we'll see a little bit if he starts running harder as soon as he gets the ball, rather than dancing around waiting for a hold up. Last year at Oregon State, look who his quarterback was, DJU. And the guy is like a robot back there. So maybe and their line may have not been that good. So every time he got the ball, he's like looking, where do I go? Well, here he shouldn't be doing that. He should be hitting the hole and going. So we'll see Saturday night. It's a night game too. I just hope it's not muddy and wet, because
God, I hope
I don't
not.
like those kind of games when we have the type of speed we have, because that negates a lot of our outside runs. It negates a lot of things. So, yeah, Martinez and Fletcher could be very big in this game, especially if the weather's not great. But we'll see. We have a couple of more days to go. Look, I have nothing to complain about. Certainly not me, because I'm the one that said we're going to blow everybody out this year. Or for the most part, who's going to stop the offense? And I stick to it. Who's going to stop these guys?
Yeah, well, I know that there's a lot of cockiness coming out of the USF side. Their fans have been chirping a lot. They're going to
Yeah,
be,
you
they're
said
going to
that.
be.
I don't read these things. So what did they say?
Oh my! They're talking about how, all this stuff about Cam Ward being overrated, and they're going to knock this guy back to Washington State. They're taking shots at like Miami's indoor practice facility being 70 yards, because apparently they've got a full 100-yard facility at USF. This USF Barstool account he sent out a photo of like a Nokia cell phone were the cell phones the last time Miami won a national championship. And then I dunked on the dude. I responded, well, okay, show us USF's national championship. What kind of phones were they using when, oh, you've never won a national championship. So,
but
yeah.
are these guys on like a website, or are they, this isn't coming from players, is it?
No. It's
just
fans.
delusional
It's
fans.
Yeah, it's social media, just delusional fans. But they're chirping more than the Gators fans were before week 1. But we have a lot more to talk about on this episode of Locked On Canes. I do want to, and Bruce wants to wax poetic on what's happening in the rest of the state with Florida. And honestly, like, Florida's given Napier another week. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but he's not been fired yet.
But I'll defend them. I don't think they're that bad. They were not going to beat Miami. They got killed, but who else is going to come 41-17? Yeah. I don't know. Florida State's the team that's got a lot of problems. They have like very little talent on that team.
Well, we will get into it because, my friends, we're literally only getting started. We got the Truth Teller with us on a Truth Teller Tuesday. You guys want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Hey, Locked On Canes fans, have you heard about Roy? I'm so excited about this. Roy stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game for athletes. Roy changes the NIL game for fans. No risk contributions, guys. This is amazing. Fan contributions on Roy are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan's support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. How about that? Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code Locked On. That's my code, Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get the Roy app for iOS or Android. Start making an impact on your favorite team. Use referral code Locked On for an opportunity to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for more details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. Thank you so much for making this Locked On Canes episode your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You know, Bruce, it feels like a long time ago when, before the season started, a lot of these college football publications were putting out their hot seat lists, right? Which coaches will be on the hot seat? And Mario Cristobal was coming up on a lot of those hot seat lists preseason. Nowhere to be found on those hot seat lists right now, thank the Lord. But Billy Napier at Florida. Now, the Gators reporters, and by the way, I don't trust any media that covers the Gators anymore, except for my guy Brandon Olson from Locked On Gators, who's given me some good info. He's a level-headed guy. I don't really trust the people that cover Florida State because they all lie about their teams. So you had all these Gator reports after, they lost again, Florida, on Saturday to Texas A&M. And then they had this board of trustees meeting reportedly on Sunday where they were raising the money. They were going to fire Billy Napier immediately. Well, it's Tuesday now. Billy's still got a job. Billy's going to coach the Mississippi State game on the road. Then maybe we'll reevaluate after that. And, I was chatting with Brandon Olson about this before the show. Billy still has his job in Florida for now. I don't know why, but he still has his job for now. But you're actually more bullish on Napier than I am.
Well, like I said before, they weren't going to beat Miami. They won the second game, big deal, and they should have won the other day. They went up against a second-string quarterback who looked maybe even better than their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the game. I watched parts of it, and I saw that he took Mertz out when he was pretty hot, and he brings in Lagway, and then the kid doesn't do much. And I don't know why he did that. And most people that follow the Gators don't know why he did that. That's his fault. They were right there. And then they wind up losing the game. So I think they could beat Mississippi State. They're not that good. So if they go 2-2 and they were going to definitely lose the first game, it's not that bad. Let's see what happens after that. I don't think there's look, there's a lot. There's 6 teams out of 10 from the SEC in the top 10. Now, I don't know how many of them they play. I haven't checked the schedule, but it's not an easy schedule. We all knew that before the season
Toughest in the
starts.
country,
But
allegedly.
right now, I don't see any reason to fire him yet. Now, if they lose to Mississippi State, then I say that's enough. Enough is enough. But I don't think they're as bad as Florida State. I think Florida State can't get out of their own way. I know we're not talking about them yet, but I just look at that team and I say, where's the talent? I spent an hour on the phone with your buddy Brian Smith the other night talking about this. And they lost all the receivers. They lost the tight end, a running back or 2, defensive line guys. Those guys were good. There was, 10 or 11 drafted. He didn't replace them in the portal. He brought in clearly nowhere near as good players. And his recruiting hasn't been that great. And they lost a couple of guys they just recruited, like 3 of them. So that's a mess. He just got an extension, so they can't fire him. At least I don't think so. God knows what his
no, they can't. He's making $10 million a year now.
Yeah, they're not going to fire him. But
the buyout is it's north of $60 million. I think they can't fire him. They can't. Here's what's going to happen there. You remember, Bruce, and listen. Sometimes these things work out. Sometimes they don't. Like we all remember. After the 2005 season when Larry Coker had to, and there were some guys he should not have, firing Don Solinger and Art Kehoe. Larry Coker should have been fired for firing those guys.
Yeah.
But basically he thought, if I clean house with my staff, I'll buy myself more time. I think that's what Mike Norvell is going to be pressured to do. I think he's going to be pressured to clean house with his staff. And, I know a lot of Seminoles fans are not happy with some of their assistant coaches, including, our guy, Randy Shannon. I think they're pretty fed up with him. So I think Norvell is going to get the opportunity to give his staff a facelift and buy himself more time for good or for bad.
No, they were 13-0 last year. And then, Jordan Travis got hurt. He actually got hurt before that. But he was the difference for them. He made plays when he shouldn't have made plays. And they won a lot of games last year. They were lucky last year. They should have lost to Boston College, whatever. So it could have lost us. But if he's going to change his staff, the same staff that went 13-0 last year, I don't know. Maybe they're looking for scapegoats, Florida State fans. I don't know. Yeah. But I don't know if that's the right answer either. It doesn't look like this team is dialed in. It doesn't look on the surface like they buy into him. I don't know. Maybe they're sick of him. I don't know. I know Mario, everybody bought into him. You could see on the sidelines. How many players you see when they're showing the game are sitting on the bench? They're all standing up. They're all watching. They're right there. They're jumping up and down on a good play. They're all on the same page, which is what we said months ago. Florida State doesn't look like that. Not at all. And they have nobody to turn to. Now, they have a freshman quarterback. Not this kid, Glenn, but the other kid.
Oh, the other one, yeah.
The other one. Well, did they throw him to the wolves? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? They put in Emory Williams last year. We did. He beats Clemson. He almost beats Florida State. He gets hurt. Why not? Put him in. But apparently he's starting DJ again.
Yeah. Which is another thing that Seminoles fans are really upset about, because it's like you can make the fair argument. DJ Uiagalelei is not the only problem, right? They're not really blocking for him. The defense has been terrible, but he's a big part of the problem, Bruce. And it's like,
but you watched the game. How many drops were there? They had a million drops.
Drops, but he's also missing open receivers. So it's at a certain point, it's like you've got to do something to create a spark. So I don't know if Norvell feels like he owes DJU something, because they went out and they made promises to this guy in the transfer portal, and I'm sure he's probably top of the roster in NIL and all that stuff. So I don't know if he's afraid to bench him, but it's like, how can you keep starting the guy? He's been a big part of the problem. You have to turn the page.
Yep, and their running game stinks, which hurts him tremendously.
They're
you can't use play action if you can't run the damn ball. So they're a mess. Yeah. But I don't care that they're a mess. Doesn't bother me in the least, or Florida.
Not in the least.
But delusional Seminole fans, I keep reading every once in a while, well, we should have gotten Ward. We should have paid Ward more money. Let's be clear, folks, because I know he was never going to Florida State. to be the quarterback with what receivers? These would be his receivers. Are you serious? As opposed to George and Restrepo and Horton and the tight ends. They didn't have Brown yet, and people are upset about him not playing that well. But still, he was never going there. It was either the NFL or Miami.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Get it out of your skulls that you guys could have had him, but you took DJ. No, that wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. Right?
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. And listen, with Florida and Florida State struggling, I think it's only going to help Miami from a recruiting standpoint. We already talked about Malachi Toney, who's already a Miami commit, but he reclassified from 2026 to 2025. So Toney is coming a year early. Miami's going to have a couple of, I'm sure probably more that we don't even know about yet, but important recruiting visitors who are coming to the USF game. So USF, of course, in Tampa area. Miami committed running back Gerard Pringle is coming to the game, and he's bringing his teammate Kellen Wiley with him.
Okay. I know we're after him.
By the way,
too.
You see what Wiley, the linebacker, Bruce, he's rising up the rankings now. He's gotten his 4th star at linebacker. He was previously like an underscouted 3-star. He's got his 4th star now. He's 6'5". He's really big. Miami likes him a lot. So Kellen Wiley's going to be on campus. Now, when we come back here on Locked On Canes, I want to give you some good, really good stats that Miami is putting up so far to start the season that you may not know about. Plus, USF's offense, they are unique. And it sounds to me like Lance Guidry is excited of the challenge of going up against US. And by the way, their offense, 8th in the country in rushing. Like, this is a very successful ground attack. So we'll talk about that and so much more. You guys want to keep it locked? We're not done yet on this brand new episode of a Truth Teller Tuesday of Locked On Canes. We've been having a blast so far this football season on FanDuel. Guys, from college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays and Mondays, we've been wagering on these games, having so much fun. You hear us talk a lot about FanDuel on the Locked On Network. It's America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Right now through September 22nd, so we got a few more days to take advantage of this. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We love the everydayers. And for the everydayers, if you want to take that to the next level, sign up and become a Locked On Canes insider. I include a link in the show description below. When you sign up to become an insider, you get text messages directly from my phone to yours, breaking news, show updates, recruiting scoops, one-on-one questions and answers. Click the link below and try it free for 14 days. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. Give you a lot of added value on there on the Locked On Canes Insiders chat.
So could Bruce, I be an insider? Could I be an insider?
Yeah, I could maybe even comp you. I could maybe think about comping the Truth Teller.
But I already have access to your texts and your phone and so on. So
yeah, it's true. You just text me.
I'm just kidding. But before we go to this, I want to clear up one thing. I don't have an answer for this. I don't see Lane Kiffin going to the Gators. His team is stacked. He's done a hell of a job recruiting in the portal. To go to Florida, which everybody says is a top 5 job in the country, I don't believe it for 1 second. They're not relevant. And I'll say this, I'll probably piss off a lot of fans, whatever. If it wasn't for Tim Tebow, we wouldn't have heard of them in the last 25 years. In the last 25 years, if it wasn't for that guy, who cares about the Gators? They're not a national brand. You can call them what you want. Florida State is more of a national brand than Florida. But Tebow was the savior for that program. And now you could take another 20 years of relying on that. Like people say, we're living in the past. Well, that was true, but we weren't as bad as these teams in the last 20-something years. We weren't great, but we weren't like 2-10, stuff like that. But anyway, why would he go to Florida? And then he'd have to compete directly with Mario Cristobal in the recruiting of the Florida kids. I don't think he's going. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, but I think he's staying at Mississippi. I don't think he's leaving, but that's that. All
Well,
right, let's move on.
a couple things on that. I mean, I
You guys can
do.
weigh in on that. You Gator fans could
Yeah.
weigh in
Oh,
on
you
that.
guys, let us know in the comments. Well, I mean, I do still think Florida is, or at least should be, a prestigious job. Now, they might just offer him so much money that it would make him want to make the move. But then on the flip side of that, Bruce, the flip side is Lane has done this before, where he's used, and his agent, I assume he's represented by Jimmy Sexton, who represents almost every, meaningful college football coach. Like, his agent and Lane, they've used these things before to create leverage to get raises. So it would not be his first rodeo. Like, if he really does like it at Mississippi State, he might be, or no, sorry, at Mississippi. Ole Miss,
right.
not Mississippi State. If he really does like it at Ole Miss, he can use that as leverage, to get a raise there potentially. He's done that before. Maybe Ole Miss is tired of him leveraging them for raises. I don't know.
I don't think so, because
we'll
they're a relevant program now. They shouldn't be tired of it. It's just money. But not that it's just money, but my point. To go to Florida, the pressure will be so incredible. And if he doesn't do well, then his career could be in the dumper. Stay there for a while. And maybe if you want to go to another school somewhere, I don't know, Texas or whatever, I'm just making up stuff. He could leverage that. But I just don't see him. Not now. I just don't see it. And I don't know who else is out there. They keep talking about Jed Fish. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Wasn't he a Gator? He went there, I think.
Did he? I mean, I remember when he coached here briefly once upon a time as the offensive coordinator. So yeah.
No, he's a good coach, but I think he went to Gainesville.
Okay.
Anyway, let's move on. So what do you want to talk about now?
Yeah, well, a couple things. Here are some offensive stats that paint a pretty good picture for where Miami is so far. Miami is third in the country in total offense, 609 yards per game. Second in the country in passing offense at 405 yards per game. They're only behind Ole Miss, Lane Jackson Dart and Lane Kiffin there. Miami is 33rd in rushing offense. We want that to get to the top 10. Yes. Sixth in the country in total defense, by the way, only giving up 188 yards per game. 13th in the country in passing defense, and also 13th in the country in rushing defense. And rushing defense is the one that's really going to be tested this weekend in Tampa, Bruce, because USF, their quarterback, Byron Brown, runs really well. They've got good running backs there. They've got the 8th ranked rushing attack in the country. So Miami's going to really be challenged there.
Yeah, and you look at who we played. No wonder the stats are like that. There's kind of skewed. We haven't really played any offense that multi-dimensional. Florida could have been, but we just took their offensive line right out of the game. Yeah. We just destroyed them. And as everybody else is getting destroyed by Miami. I still think we win this game 17 to 21 points. If this is like a less than 5 or 6 points, then I'd be a little concerned. Not that they're bad, but they have no business being on the same field as us to take it, for 60 minutes. I just don't see it.
Well, and also I can already predict what the narratives are going to be, because a lot of people pregame are hyping up USF, and they played Alabama very tough for about 3.5 quarters. Alabama pulled away. They played them even tougher last year. But I know what the narrative is going to be heading into the game. Everyone's like, watch out for USF. If Miami does win comfortably, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns, then the narrative afterwards is going to be, well, you still haven't played anybody. That's it. They're not in the Power 4. It's a terrible team. So this is like a no-win for Miami. Obviously, if you lose the game outright, it's catastrophic. But even if Miami wins the game, the narrative is going to be, well, you still haven't played anybody. So, no one's going to give Miami full respect until after you start winning ACC games.
Yeah, and there's that ACC schedule is not so tough. I mean, we should. The toughest game appears to be Louisville on the road. As it sits
Cal. I'm not sleeping on Cal.
No, I'm not sleeping on Cal. But again, that's a game on the road like this week that Mario has to get him mentally ready. And if Cal beats Florida State and they beat him convincingly, that's going to be a game where he's got to rally those troops and stay focused. I still don't think they have anywhere near the overall talent that Miami has. And that's what's keeping me saying this, because, you could have a couple of good players, a few stars here and there, but this team's so deep, it's not even funny. Have you seen the big drop off with the defensive backs, other than a couple of plays against, what was it, A&M, when guys were wide open, but they cleaned that up. That's for sure.
Yeah,
so
cleaned it up.
I think our pass rush is We got to stop the run. If we shut down the run, we should be able to dominate USF. And I know that's what they're looking to do.
Here's what Lance Guidry, Miami's defensive coordinator, said about USF's offense. He seems excited for the challenge. He said they use every blade of grass.
Mm-hmm.
They're split very wide. They try to stretch you out as much as they can so that they can try to run the football and throw the vertical passing game. They will go extremely fast, and so you can't have defensive calls that have a lot of words to them. It's hard to simulate, he says, because it's like option football. You can have a plan and make your scout team do it, but you can't get in a rhythm and flow of it until you get into the game. So that's interesting because it's hard. Like it's hard to get your scout team to simulate something that's so unique. So a lot of this is going to be on the job training for Miami on Saturday.
Yeah, and if they're going to be doing this no huddle stuff, they're not going to be able to substitute Miami unless USF substitutes. Then they'll stand over the ball and let Miami make their substitutions. I expect Guidry to let the corners go one-on-one with these guys and keep 7 in the box and take the run away from them. That's what I think he's going to do. Let him throw the ball. You want to throw the ball, throw the ball. We'll take our chances with our secondary and our pass rush. But I don't think he's going to let our defense be all spread out so they could run up between the tackles or the guards. I don't think that's going to happen. So, but that's just my version of what I heard Lance Guidry say, and I think he's got an answer for that because he's not dumb. He's got it.
He's not. He's definitely not dumb.
Dumb.
Huge shout out, and thank you as always to the truth teller Bruce Warner here on a Tuesday. Thank you to everyone who took time out of your day or evening to listen to Locked On Canes. If you listen to the audio version, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and we will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.